time, really? Jenny, come on, get in here! You better watch the next movie! Jenny? Jenny, come here, you gotta see this! Jenny! What? 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 You don't see that out there? Go look! Go! What? I don't see anything out there. What are you talking about? Oh, come on. You gotta see something out there. There's nothing there, Hallie. Really? I don't see anything. What are you talking about? Hey all you slashaholics, welcome back to Slash Sisters. I'm Hallie.
And I am Jen, and we are here to give you what you crave. Horror movie reviews by true horror movie fans.
Today we will be discussing what many people consider to be the prototype for the slasher film. But the slasher concept actually predates that.
Quite a bit, actually.
Quite a bit. I think the
can...
first American slasher was Psycho, but yeah. I think what popularized it was Bob Clark's Black Christmas,
1974, so 4 years before this.
Right, but this one kind of made the formula packageable so other people could do it. This is what film
made the path forward for all the other movies to come.
Literally, like when Friday the 13th was made, they said, watch Halloween, copy that formula, there you go.
Change it up.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Nightmare on Elm Street, really, a lot of the hits are there everywhere you go.
Right, but they basically go back to this film.
Yeah, that's right. Today we are talking about John Carpenter's 1978 film, Halloween. Now, we say it's John Carpenter's film, but this was a true labor of love, literally, down to, people not receiving pay. I think Nick Castle received $25 a day for his time in the shape.
If that.
Yeah.
I know John Carpenter didn't make any money. Deborah Hill didn't make any money. At least half of the $300,000 budget went to the camera for the opening shot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
And they really did use a different camera than was used on a lot. They were able to get it was kind of a Steadicam ripoff.
It was the precursor to the Steadicam.
Right.
I believe it was called a Panavision Steady Glide.
Right, and that's how they got a lot of those flowing shots where you see the teenagers walking, where you see Michael moving, where they're able to get through the house in some really cool shots too. So, really they started a lot of really interesting things with this film.
Very innovative.
Yeah, for sure. It was co-written by Deborah Hill, who was John Carpenter's girlfriend at the time. Oh yeah, Deborah Hill. And obviously produced by Deborah Hill. There were so many people behind this, and everybody was putting everything they had into it, literally down to their pennies.
Really. I mean, they only had Donald Pleasance for 5 days.
Yeah, yeah.
And the only reason why he took the role
well, they only shot the entire film for only 20 days.
Right.
It was a 20-day shoot.
17 or 20.
I thought I read this morning that it was 20.
Oh. But still, Donald Pleasance, 5 days. He only took the role because he needed to pay his rent. That was the only reason.
Yeah, and it was turned down by multiple people. I think Christopher Lee is the most prominent one, and he has come back and said that it was like the
worst
regret.
decision.
Yeah.
Yep.
He can't believe he didn't take that role, but I mean, Donald Pleasance became a horror icon for sure, playing Dr. Samuel Loomis.
Right, right. And John Carpenter not only co-wrote and directed this film, he also composed the entire score, which he credited himself under the Bowling Green Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yeah, yeah. So he grew up in Bowling Green, which is what, like, that's his hometown is Bowling Green, Kentucky, I think.
That sounds right.
And he, he named himself the Bowling Green Philharmonic Orchestra to give himself credit without really giving himself credit, putting his name on there again.
Which is kind of funny when you think about it, because he did the score himself. The first time he tested this in audience, they hated it. It was like, it's not scary, there's nothing scary about it. And he went back, composed the score, which is in the iconic 5/4 overture. Yeah. And it just made the whole film, seriously.
It gives it that eeriness, it gives it the tension. Again, we've talked about this before on how, like, in Psycho, the background sounds and the music really tells you when to feel that tension.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It absolutely, I mean, this movie solidifies the music as part of the tension of horror films, which we see today.
Now, we open our story on Halloween night, 1963, in Haddonfield, Illinois, which, ironically enough, is like in a county or two over from where we live in Peoria, Illinois.
Yeah, except that Haddonfield doesn't really exist. I mean, it's a fictional town, but we've, being Illinois natives, we know where it is technically.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. We're led from the point of view of a person who grabs a mask, walks up the stairs and kills a teenage girl in her bedroom. The killer then walks outside, and we see the camera pan around to reveal a 6-year-old boy in a clown costume.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 6-year-old?
6.
That's nuts.
I mean, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and I can't imagine a 6-year-old doing something like that. It's just horrendous. So we flash forward to October 30th, 1978. Exactly, one day until the exact 15-year date of the first...
I'm sorry, whose idea was it to move him 15 years after the anniversary of killing his sister?
And really, I mean, you're going to move him on the anniversary? Like, the day before the anniversary of... Like, you're just asking for trouble. Anyways, so we cut to Dr. Samuel Loomis, which is a direct reference to Psycho, and Nurse Marion, which Marion Crane, also Psycho reference, arriving at Smith's Grove Sanitarium to escort Michael Myers, the boy who killed his sister on Halloween night. But when they get there, they see that there's just inmates roaming around the grounds, and immediately they know something is very bad. They know that Michael is gone, for sure.
Right. Well, actually, he attacks the car.
Yeah, with Marion inside the car.
He attacks the car.
Doesn't kill her.
And if you watch the shot very carefully, and they actually duplicated this in Halloween 2018.
Yeah.
Or, no, Halloween
Kills. Yeah.
Yeah. He has a wrench taped to his hand
so that he can break
the glass and open it up. I love that little thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's the ingenuity that they had to use in order to make these things work.
Definitely.
You know, I mean, we keep talking about this in every video, but really, horror movies, especially in the 80s, had to do anything that they could on the cheapest budget they possibly could, because they really, I mean, horror movies still don't get great budgets. Big ones do, but really, they had to work with what they had.
I mean, the whole film was made with $300,000.
Yeah,
which
the entire film.
I mean, at the time, that sounds like it's a lot of money, but when you break it down and start paying people's salaries and stuff like that, it goes fast.
It's nothing.
It goes fast.
It's really nothing.
So Michael then takes off in the car, kills the mechanic, gaining his iconic overalls.
Yes.
Coveralls, not overalls. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference between those. Coveralls.
Yes,
Mechanics coveralls. Yeah.
And begins to make his way back to Haddonfield, Illinois, where when he arrives in Haddonfield, he robs a hardware store. Hardware store.
Yeah.
Takes some rope, some knives, and the iconic white mask, which was not white to begin with.
Yeah, no, actually, it was a
Captain Kirk
mask. And surprisingly, there's quite a few people that did not know that. I was surprised to recently find out that friends of mine didn't know that. I'm looking at you, Mikey. Looking at you, baby.
Really?
I don't know that he's even really a big fan of horror. He just... So, yeah, the mask was a Captain Kirk mask that was then painted a whitish blue. They did add some blue in there, probably to help it register better on camera.
Right. They cut the eye holes a little bit bigger so he could see.
Plucked the hair back some.
They cut the sideburns.
Yep.
And there we go. We have the iconic Mikey Myers.
The very first shape was actually played by Nick Castle. We mentioned him earlier. And if anybody has seen the newest Halloween movie that just came out, a few days ago?
Yeah.
Within the last week or so. We actually get a shot of Nick Castle dressed as a flasher at one of the Halloween parties in Halloween Ends.
And he actually references the first Halloween with the iconic line, "See anything you like" from PJ Souls. I love that.
I loved it too.
That was great. While stalking his old house, Michael sees a high school student, Laurie Strode, played by the now infamous, whatever, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Absolutely famous. Who just got her star on the Walk of Fame.
Really?
Yeah, like a few days ago. Anyway,
she happens to be Janet Leigh's daughter. Janet Leigh played in Psycho as Marion Crane, so there's another Psycho connection. This happened to be her very first film role, and
she had been on TV before, but had never been in a movie, so this was her very first film.
Right.
So throughout the day, Laurie sees Michael kind of stalking her. Like, she sees him randomly, like, next to a bush, and her friend Annie runs up, and she's like, "There's somebody here," you know. Well, actually, she kind of makes fun of her. And she's like, "Oh, he's really handsome. You should come check him out," you know. But, you know, basically, her friends just continue to dismiss her all day long, even though she keeps seeing this person kind of standing around watching her. Even at school, she, like, looks out the school window and sees him standing standing across the street. Super creepy.
Right. Dr. Loomis arrives to Haddonfield and finds that Judith Myers' tombstone is missing. The girl that was killed at the beginning of this was Michael's sister.
Yes.
Sister.
Judith
Myers. He proceeds to meet with Sheriff Brackett, who happens to be Annie's dad, Annie being
the friend who
Laurie's best friend. They go to the Myers house and find a dead dog inside, to which Loomis replies, "I guess he got hungry."
Yeah, which I don't know how he leapt to that conclusion. Like, he's clearly been in, like, a high security sanitarium for the last 15 years. What would make him think, like, oh yeah, he definitely killed that dog and ate it? It's beyond me. So the Sheriff Brackett, seems to be pretty unconcerned and really doesn't think Michael is coming back to Haddonfield. Like, he's just like, "Okay, if you say so, Dr. Loomis, I'm going to go patrol again. You go ahead and stay here and look out for Michael."
Right. On Halloween night, we see Laurie babysitting Tommy Doyle, and across the street, Annie is babysitting Lindsay Wallace.
So, later, Annie wants to go pick up her boyfriend. So she takes Lindsay across the street to Laurie, so that Laurie can then take care of both kids. And she kind of gets this pawned off on her, so all of her friends can go and have some fun. And she says that, you know, she's like, "Great, have fun. I'll, be here with the kids." But anyways, so Annie takes her across the street and then goes back, gets in her car, and is attacked from the backseat by Michael. He strangles her and then slits her throat.
Oh, here you go.
Yeah.
Shortly after this, Linda and her boyfriend, Bob, arrive to the Wallace house to find that no one is there.
Nobody?
So what do? Two horny teenagers? They go and find some place to fuck.
I mean, I was a horny teenager once. I'm sure you were too. But yeah, I mean, I get that, I guess.
Right. They call across the street and talk to Lori, who tells them that Lindsay is with her and Annie went to pick up her boyfriend.
Paul. Yep.
Paul?
Yeah, I believe that was his name. I'm pretty sure. Anyways.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, was voiced by John Carpenter himself.
Yes, because we never actually see Paul. She just talks to him on the phone.
Completely off. He's just voiced on the phone.
It was an uncredited John Carpenter voice on the phone. So Linda and Bob take this opportunity in their nice empty house to establish our first rule, which is don't have sex. But they go upstairs and have sex anyways. And they've also been establishing our second rule this entire time because they've been drinking.
Mm-hmm. Bob tells Linda he will be right back.
Another rule to break.
Right. Famous last words. And he heads to the kitchen to get more beer. Downstairs, Bob is killed and pinned to the wall with what must have been a 2-foot butcher knife because, let's face it, it was like this much of the back end of the knife with the handle out the front of his chest, but he was pinned to the fucking wall.
Yeah. Pretty bonkers.
I mean, I understand a butcher knife like this big, but
yeah,
it would have to be like this big.
Yeah. So Michael takes this opportunity to dress up as Bob by putting a sheet over his head and throwing Bob's glasses on, and goes up to talk to Linda, who makes fun of him and kind of starts saying, "Okay, funny enough, that's great." But anyways, so she decides to get back on the phone with Lori because nobody's heard from Annie yet.
Mm-hmm.
And when she gets on the phone, Michael proceeds to take the cord and wrap it around her neck, and then doesn't he slit her throat too, or does he just strangle her to death?
I think he just strangles her to death.
Okay, but Lori's on the phone with her, and she thinks it's a prank.
Because she not pranked her earlier, she called and was chewing and just couldn't get the words out earlier,
yeah.
so.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Dr. Loomis finds the stolen car that Michael actually drove right behind him in an earlier scene. I can't get over that.
I know. How did he not see that?
Well, he literally waited until Loomis had his back to him.
Yeah,
though.
that's true.
So Michael was using his head.
Yeah, he's smarter than we think.
Right.
And he knows how to drive, even though he was 6 years old when he went into.
And he's been in this institutionalized.
Yeah, they actually do talk about that. He's like, he doesn't know how to drive, and
he was doing very well last night.
So, anyways. Loomis is like searching the streets because he sees the car that was stolen parked near where Lori and her friends are.
Mm-hmm.
So then we see Lori going across the street to check on her friends because no one's heard from anyone, and that was a pretty weird call from Linda. When she gets there, she finds her friends' bodies staged around Judith Meyer's tombstone.
Mm-hmm. Now, our ultimate scream queen in Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, runs to the hallways where she encounters the Shape. It was important to note that he was not billed as Michael Myers in the script. It was always written as the Shape did this, the Shape does this, the Shape emerges.
Right.
It wasn't Michael Myers.
In the script, and billed as the Shape in the actual credits.
Right.
But we do hear them call him Michael Myers because Dr. Loomis refers to him as Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is interesting to know that he is called the Shape. Yep.
Right. I think they did that intentionally to not put a face to the evil that's within.
Yes,
whatever.
for sure.
He slashes her arm, causing her to fall over the banister. She barely escapes and runs to the Doyle house.
She finds the kids and makes them hide and tries to phone for help, but finds that the phone line is actually dead. Michael gets into the house and attacks Lori again. She pulls a pretty cool defensive move and sticks her knitting needle straight into his neck, which temporarily incapacitates him.
Oh, you really have to hard on for it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does. I mean, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He don't stop when it comes to Lori.
No. She staggers back upstairs to check on the children, but Michael appears again and attacks her. She hides in the bedroom closet where, again, Michael finds her and begins stabbing in the dark, trying to get to her. And I love this scene, even though she's like, she's playing like the helpless role there.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine just how terrifying that is?
I can't. I would feel pretty helpless as well, you know?
But the resourcefulness that she uses by grabbing the wire coat hanger.
And jabs it straight into his eye, you know? I mean, I'm fairly certain we don't really get to see Michael. Through all of the franchise, we really don't get to see Michael's face very often. However, I will say that we see the side of his face in the 2018 Halloween, and his eye is definitely damaged, which I love that they pay that attention to detail, you know? Like, you do get to see that come up throughout the rest of the series, the franchise.
Well, his mask does come off in this for a brief second.
It does. This is one of the only ones.
And it's not Nick Castle that's
no, it's not. They had a completely different actor play the role of unmasked Michael.
Because Nick Castle just looked too goofy to do, honestly.
True.
I mean, if you've ever seen the pictures of him, like, putting the Dr. Pepper up to the Michael Myers mask. I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, and not only that, like, the little kid that plays Michael was so adorable. They had to get somebody that was, like, you know, at least kind of adorable still, too. And he's only 21 years old, too. I think Nick Castle was significantly older, so they needed to find someone that was
I don't
younger.
think he was that much older, but I think he was, like, mid to late 20s, maybe.
Yeah.
Michael, the evil that cannot be killed, gets back up again and attacks Laurie. God, like I said, he really has a hard-on for her.
I know, and he just does not stop.
Right. Dr. Loomis sees the kids running from the house and goes to investigate, finding Michael attacking Laurie.
So Laurie rips off Michael's mask,
which we've already talked about.
Distracting him long enough while he attempts to get it back on that Dr. Loomis shoots Michael 96 times! Sorry.
No.
6 times. He shoots him 6 times, which knocks him off the balcony.
Loomis then walks to the edge of the balcony and looks down to see that Michael is gone. Seemingly unsurprised by this, he looks off into the night and Laurie sobs. Cut to epic synth music, roll credits.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting to also note here that Donald Pleasance approached John Carpenter about doing that scene because John Carpenter wanted him to initially act surprised. And Donald Pleasance said, well, he knows this person, he knows it inside and out, he's been studying him for years.
Yeah.
He would almost expect him to be gone.
Yeah, you're right.
So they shot it both ways.
I didn't know that.
They shot it both ways, and they ended up using the take that Donald Pleasance recommended because it fit better with the story.
Right.
As opposed to him being, oh my god, he's gone.
Yeah.
Why is he up? Where did he go?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just not the way Loomis would have handled that situation.
Mm-hmm. No, he's been telling everybody from the very beginning, like, this is the most dangerous situation we could possibly be in. Mm-hmm. This is not good for any of us. We really need to get this man reined back in and taken back into custody because this is, I mean, having Michael loose, which apparently he stays loose for many, many, many more years. Well, and eventually ends up back in a sanitarium.
I mean, it depends on which storyline or timeline you look at this. This
True.
It's
a very convoluted
storyline that
I think all of ours have all of the series. Well, no, I guess really this one and Texas Chainsaw Massacre so far that we've talked about have two very
convoluted timelines.
Yeah, the timelines are very squiggly.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't help that there's remakes involved with it too, because that alters the timeline as well.
Right.
But yeah, that's basically it. The credits roll, and that's how it was supposed to end.
That's the ending of one of the most epic slasher films ever made. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, it was what started the slasher genre. And it really did. It's what made it popular. It's what brought all of the rules into a very confined formula that then people could follow for years and years to come.
Copy paste.
People are still doing it. I mean, like Sean S. Cunningham, who wrote the script for Friday the 13th, literally said in interviews, like, I took Halloween, made it exactly the same, and just changed the location.
Yeah. Because he, in his minds for that, what would be more isolating to have the kids by themselves than putting them into a summer camp.
Into a summer camp where there's no adults around to help them.
Right. But we'll touch on that when we do actually talk about Friday the 13th in a later video.
Sure will. But for now,
so Halloween, it wasn't actually meant to be even called Halloween.
Actually, you know what? I heard that it was always intended to be called Halloween, but it went through a lot of different name changes in the very beginning. Like the
initial
original
name was the Babysitter Murders.
Right, yeah.
Which, let's face it, I mean, if it had been called the Babysitter Murders, would it be the successful franchise that it is today?
No.
Would it have stood the test of time that it has stood, that is done today? I don't think it would have.
Yeah.
Because you look back at, like, other horror films in the same time frame made after this, like, I'm thinking specifically, like, April Fool's Day, even though it's around holidays.
Yeah, ones that are, like, specific to holidays. But, like, Black Christmas, and, I mean, which Black Christmas has been remade how many times
Twice.
now? Yeah.
Twice.
I mean, you know, it definitely set off the genre of horror movies focused around holidays.
Yeah, it did. But
this is the most obvious holiday to focus on, though.
I mean, when you're talking about a masked killer, I mean,
Yeah.
what better time frame to set it than Halloween?
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, it makes Michael's costume a little bit more able to blend in.
Oh, yeah,
if you saw
definitely.
him walking around like that on just a normal day,
Like in the summertime, like what the hell is this dude doing?
what
in coveralls
is this guy?
and a mask?
Yeah. This guy's bonkers. But if you saw that on Halloween, you probably wouldn't really think twice about it. So, I don't know. What do you think? Bloody Machete?
Oh, definitely a Bloody Machete. Because this,
For me too.
I mean, it started what we know of as the slasher.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what we grew up with. So.
Yeah.
And with that, we are done with Halloween.
Nice hit.
Thank you. So, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do next, and we just happened to look and to see that coming up is the actual anniversary of this film.
Mm-hmm.
1988's Dan Mancini's...
Don Mancini.
Dan.
It's Don.
Dan.
Don. I'm telling you, it's Don Mancini. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Don't make me make another video. Don Mancini, as she just figured out right there.
Don Mancini's Child's Play. Join us in 2 weeks when we will be reviewing this and taking our terrible frights from a 2-foot-tall demonic doll.
Yeah, a 2-foot-tall demonic doll. I mean, there's not a whole lot more scary than that.
I mean, it's a doll. Hunt him.
Yeah. Okay, hunt him.
Hunt him.
He keeps coming back. You've seen him? There's how many now? How many films? I think there's like 8 or 9 films.
Like 7 films.
And a
and
whole season of Chucky, plus we're now on season 2. So, yeah, it's definitely a huge franchise, and something that, I mean, we'll touch on this more, but Don Mancini has been involved from the very beginning. He really has. He's been involved.
He's been involved with everything except for the lame-ass 2019
with
remake.
the AI, weird-looking doll. I did not like that at all.
Right.
Although I do love Aubrey Plaza.
Alright, so until next time, be sure to stab that like button,
slash the subscribe button,
and ring-a-ling that gray bell so you stay notified on all of our latest videos. And we still haven't reached that 100 followers yet. I know we're really close.
Yep.
We really want to give this away. I mean, like Jenny has said,
we each have one.
We each have one. We want
you
you
to
to
have
have one. So tell your friends, like, subscribe, and we'll give this away once we reach 100 followers. But until then, we will see you all
in the afterlife.